The Great Steppe, millenniums of events, hundreds of nomadic tribes and people. They lived, worked, made discoveries, conquered large tracts of lands, and left us some mysteries. To learn more about it, watch the project called Enigma of the Great Steppe. Every schoolboy or schoolgirl knows the name of this person. He is the legendary figure of the British epic. He is the most famous of the Celtic heroes and the central figure of many novels. King Arthur is a legendary British leader. He was the first knight of Europe. Scientists still argue on his existence, and if he really existed, who was he? Where did he come to the boondocks of the Roman Empire from? The search for answers to these questions leads us to the depths of history, and the further we go in, the more obvious becomes the assumption that Arthur's ancestors came from the East.
На самом деле этот факт подтверждает множество доказательств, скажем, такие.
Actually, it is confirmed by a number of evidences. For example, such actions, such aspects of chivalry as hunting on horseback and eating meat at the table.
Мясо, да, за общим столом, культ прекрасной дамы.
The cult of a beautiful lady, the traditions of genealogy, the crest of the knights, the knight tournaments. Also, we can mention the traditions of minstrels, the roving knights poets. You will not find all of these traditions in the Roman or in the local European culture. These are the traditions of the Great Steppe. These are our traditions. If it is true, then who could bring these traditions and customs to Britain, which is quite far from the steppe? How could people living at such distant locations contact each other? Could the Celts have visited the Great Steppe? Or did our distant ancestors manage to reach the western borders of the Roman Empire? Approximately in the 6th or 5th centuries BC, in the very heart of the wide Scythian lands, one tribe flourished, which soon became known as the Sarmatians, or Sarmats. The Greek and Roman chroniclers admire them. People compose myth on their origin. Exactly, the Sarmatians were the tribe who arranged the first great migration of people in the world history, long before the Huns did. The lands beyond the river Tanis are no longer the Scythian lands. These lands belong to the Sarmats. The Sarmats live on the lands to the north, starting from the Trench, the Maeotian Lake, for 15 days of travel. There are no wild trees or saplings. The Sarmatians left many hints that might allow the descendants to unravel the mystery of their origin. Scientists still argue on location where exactly this powerful tribe has established itself for the first time. But archaeological findings indicate that the homeland of the Sarmatians was the territory of the western part of modern Kazakhstan. I think that one of the most important questions of the Sarmatian researches is the one concerning the initial formation of the Sarmatian tribe, the first locations of the Sarmatians. This is a very important question for Kazakhstan. If you ask why it is so important, it is important because the Sarmatian culture appeared and started its development here. Developed on the territory of Kazakhstan, or to be more precisely, in the western regions of Kazakhstan, on the territory of the modern region of Aktobe. What kind of culture was the Sarmatian culture? What was the basis of the Sarmatian society? How did these warlike nomads surprise the ancient world which they were to face with? Why did the ancient historians consider this tribe as the tribe with mythical origin? It is known the Saka tribes played a significant role in the formation of ethnogenesis of modern Kazakhs. This is how the Persian authors called the Eastern Scythians. Such composite ethnonym was typical for that time. Although being a large tribal alliance, the Saka tribes, united by common culture, lifestyle, and language had different names. One of these names is the Sarmatians. Herodotus mentioned that the Sarmatians spoke the Scythian language with mistakes. But what kind of language was it? For many years, it was believed that the Scythians spoke the Iranian language. Nowadays, scientists have all evidences to refute this theory. The supporters of the theory of Iranian-speaking nomads are opposed by the supporters of the theory of Turkic-speaking nomads. And here we have convincing evidence, very convincing one. It is the Lynch Oak inscription found on the territory of Kabardino-Balkaria. It is the Lynch Oak gravestone with Alanian text written in Greek letters. Well, first, scientists tried to read this text in Greek. It was not readable in Greek. Then, in the 19th century, academician Miller tried to read the text in Ossetian. The text did not make any sense. Later, Karachai and Tatar scientists managed to read in Turkic. It is obvious that it is the Turkic inscription. There is no doubt that the Sakas and Sarmatians were nomadic tribes, but their appearance still causes much controversy. However, if to take into account the results of all anthropological studies, then it is probably safe to assume that the first nomads, being at the crossroads of the world's largest corridors, had a mixed racial type. The most incredible version of the Sarmatians' appearance on the political map of Eurasia was proposed by the father of history. Herodotus wrote that the Saromates originated from the Amazons, who were captured by the Hellenists, the other name of Greeks after their defeat. But on the way to Greece, Hellenes seized the ships on which they were transporting the Amazons and disembarked on the Scythian lands. Later, the Amazons married the Scythians and gave birth to the children. Perhaps this is how the ancient historian tried to explain the bellicosity of the Sarmatian women, who could ride well and participated in all battles.
Женское войско, да, это нонсенс, на мой взгляд.
I think the female army is nonsense, but the so-called Alipkiz always existed in the steppe. Alipkiz is a lady Batir, a lady who is a hero and warrior. The fact is that there were a lot of these ladies. And what was the reason? Because the society is paramilitary. The lifestyle is paramilitary. The conditions are severe. The culture itself is paramilitary, male, brutal, and it stimulated the appearance of so-called Alipkiz. In 2012, the archaeologists of the western Kazakhstan discovered the Sarmatian burial. Here they found the remains of the Golden Woman, or, as it was called later, the Taksai Princess. It was named after the station near which the mounds were discovered. Scientists found about 80 pieces of gold jewelries, the horse reins, household subjects, and the things that could be useful in the afterlife according to beliefs. One of the unique findings is a comb with the picture of the battle scene between the Sakas and Persians of that period. The reconstruction of the initial appearance of the Golden Woman was led by the famous restorer Krim Altinbekov.
Вот когда знаменитую вот этот гребень нашли деревянный, 2 раза успели фотографировать хорошей фиксации.
When we found this famous wooden comb, we managed to take a picture with a good fixation 2 times. But while taking the next photo, it already dried up and flew away. We recorded, saved, and brought the pictures to the laboratory. In the laboratory, we restored it completely. There's a scene of the battle between the Persians and Saka people on chariots.
Война Персии с саками на колесницах.
We even managed to restore their faces.
Там 3 персона.
There are 3 persons, archer, coachman, and Saka warrior, in front of them. We restored everything.
Сакский вой. Все ихние образы все мы восстановили.
This finding confirmed once again that women played the special role in Sarmatian society, as well as in the Saka, and they could have been endowed with authority. Scientists cannot tell exactly who this Taksai princess was. They also do not know was she really a princess or not. Her lifestyle is also unknown, but it is certain that she had a very high position in society. Perhaps she wielded power or was of the monarch origin. Does this mean that the society of the Sarmatians was a female-dominant one?
Все евразийские степные культуры были такие, где вот
In all Eurasian steppe cultures, special attention was paid to women. But this does not mean that the matriarchy dominated in this society. We cannot say that the society was a female dominant. Such society had never existed on the territory of Kazakhstan. The supreme role, the highest role, had always belonged to men. The steppe tribes had always been guided by the principle of male dominance. The man was the head of the family, the breadwinner, the father of the family. The man was the ancestor and the forefather. The harsh climate of the semi-desert lands located on the territory of modern western Kazakhstan very quickly turned the Sarmatians into the hardest and brave warriors. The wooden comb found at the Taksai Mounds shows that they helped their fellow Saka people in the battle with the Persian king Darius I. Probably at that period, this tribe, forced to live in severe environmental conditions, realized its power. The Sarmatians understood that they could live better, could choose the best pastures with the mild climate. They began the expansion to the lands of neighbors. The first who suffered from the Sarmatian expansion were the Scythians that lived in the west. The origin of the archaeological cultures is always related to ecology, to the certain features of the territory itself. The warlike Sarmatians are the children of our western Kazakhstan. Could such realignment of forces in the steppes of Eurasia have gone unnoticed by other nations? What happened to nations whose lands the Sarmatians invaded? Which great power had to make a deal with the new masters of the steppe? The Sarmatians suddenly attacked our lands with 10,000 horsemen, tells the Scythian Toksaris, and the number of people on foot was 3 times more than the number of horsemen. Their attack was unforeseen. They put people to flight, killed most of the brave people and captured others. The Sarmatians immediately began to round up the prey, to collect the crowds of captives, to rob the tents, took a great number of carriages with everyone who was in those carriages. Invading larger territories, soon the Sarmatians firmly established themselves in the southern Russian steppes, then in the northern Black Sea region, and managed to reach the eastern borders of the Roman Empire. The undefeated Roman legionaries faced a new unfamiliar force, which made them stop their expansion to the west.
Находясь на Балканах, римские легионы впервые.
Being in the Balkan region, the Roman legions shifted from the active aggressive strategy to the defensive one for the first time. The Roman legions could not resist the Sarmatians, and this is the reason why the Romans were forced to build a giant wall called Limes Romanus in the valley between the Danube and Tisa rivers.
В долине рек Дунай и Тиса. Аналог китайской стены.
This wall was the same as the Chinese wall, as the Margiana wall, which protected the empire of Alexander the Great from the nomads.
Империи Македонского. Таким образом,
Thus, the Sarmatians, for the first time, made the Roman emperors nervous.
понервничать римских императоров. Мало того,
Moreover, taking advantage of the fact that there were some internal conflicts in the Roman Empire, the Sarmatian and Gothic forces began to invade the territory of Rome.
варварскими племенами, войска начали даже более экспансионистскую такую политику и стали вторгаться на территорию Рима. То есть впервые
For the first time after Hannibal's attacks, Rome faced a powerful aggression of foreigners.
где мощное давление иностранной агрессии.
The Roman emperors decided to outsmart, to stop somehow this aggression from the east. They offered the Sarmatian soldiers a service in their army as foreign mercenaries. The modern historians believe that in this way the empire simply was trying to buy their way out of the situation, to choose the lesser of the two evils.
В то время была эпидемия чумы. И Рим...
At that time, a terrible plague was spread among the locals of Rome, and about 2 million people died in the eastern provinces. The Sarmatians easily invaded these lands of the empire, and the Romans did not want their further moves.
Дальнейшего их продвижения римляне не желали. Они вступили...
So they entered into negotiations. As a result of these negotiations, the Romans promised the Sarmatians to supply annually a certain amount of food, first of all, bread, some cash benefit, and allowed them to settle on the lands of the eastern provinces.
Какое-то денежное пособие. Значит, сармат и разрешили поселиться на этих своих восточных, на землях вот этих восточных провинций.
The Sarmatians, in their turn, returned 100,000 of the captured Romans and committed to send annually 8,000 cataphracts.
Посылать ежегодно
Not annually, but these 8,000 cataphracts were to serve in the Roman army on a permanent basis.
служить в римской армии.
But how did the Sarmatians surpass the invincible Roman military machine? Why did the Roman generals fail to cope with the aggressive policy of the nomads? The fact is that the Sarmatians were the first who started using heavy cavalry. The heavily armored horsemen rammed the Roman troops, destroying the lines of foot soldiers and creating confusion in their combat formations. The archaeological studies of monuments of the Sarmatian culture show that the nomadic tribes improved their weaponry and equipment as they moved westward. So the short Scythian sword, called akinak, eventually was improved to the long double-edged sword, with the help of which the horsemen could easily hack at full gallop. In addition, the Sarmatians improved their archery, which was also conducted on horseback. And although the Roman historians speak of the Sarmatians in some derogatory form, they recognize that the Sarmatians were the best warriors. It is remarkable that the entire gallantry of the Sarmatians is not connected with them. They are very cowardly in foot battle, but when they attack as cavalry, it is unlikely that any troop can withstand them. We're talking about the warlike Sarmatian tribes. They use the most advanced skills in the preparation of weapons and the tactics of combat. Hundreds of arrows can be found in the Sarmatian quivers. Not 2 or 3 pieces, 3 or 4 hundreds of arrowheads are found. These findings indicate that the Sarmatians had the tactics of fighting, where they shot the enemy from afar. In 175, the soldiers hired from the Sarmatian mercenaries were sent to Britain to help outposts. These professional warriors, horsemen, fought under the banner in the form of dragons and worshipped the god of war, that is, the drawn sword stuck down in the ground. So it turns out that the popular myth of the sword of King Arthur, Excalibur, has a Scythian Sarmatian origin, as well as most of the legendary epics of the ancient inhabitants of the foggy Albion. In English folklore, the Sarmatian shamans appeared in the image of the magician Merlin. The bowl of shamans became the prototype of the Holy Grail.
Сарматы, которые
The Sarmatians, who lived in the west of Kazakhstan and in the South Russian steppes, reached London.
они дошли до Лондона.
Very few of us know about the fact that one of the founders of London was a Sarmatian. Yes, this is true.
Даже один из консулов римских.
Even one of the Roman consuls, Britannicus, people called him so because he occupied Britain.
Поскольку он оккупировал Британию. Его
He was
поддерживали
supported by several thousands of the Sarmatian veterans who served in the Roman cohorts.
в римских когортах. Служили.
And they settled there. There's a wall where it is mentioned that they worship their gods.
Упоминается то, что они поклоняются своим богам.
But the era of the Roman grandeur came to its end. Insurrections broke out on the outskirts of the empire, which once was a mighty one. Britain also faced this fate, and at this moment the Sarmatian mercenaries came to the forefront.
Эти сарматы проявили себя весьма значительным образом.
These Sarmatians proved themselves in a very significant way. It was the period of the collapse of the Roman Empire, and the collapse of any empire is accompanied by violence, robbery, wars, strives, and suffering of the people. At that moment, the same cohort of the Sarmatian horsemen became the driving force that put order not only on the British island, but partly in Europe also.
На британском острове, но и частично в Европе.
The so-called Order of the Knights of the Round Table appeared at this time. Quite tellingly, neither in the Roman nor in the local tradition, there was such an image of the Round Table.
Образа круглого стола.
Perfectly know that the Round Table, Joly, is an invariable attribute of any yurt.
Атрибутом любой юрты.
Only in the round yurt it is possible to put a round table. And the round table, Dastarkhan, always was the symbol of unity and brotherhood in the steppe.
Единение, братства.
Who created this order of knighthood, who stopped the chaos and prevented Britain from drowning in bloody civil strifes? This person was King Arthur, his very mysterious and even mythical personality. Some historians claim that Arthur was a Roman, that he was the descendant of those who conquered the foggy Albion. But it is known the Romans used only hired cavalry or cavalry of allies. And the weapons of the first knights significantly differed from the Roman ones. And who was King Arthur? Could the legendary warrior have been the Sarmatian origin? One of the supporters of this version was the French mythologist Georges Dumézil. Modern scientists also admit such thought. Several years ago, the book by Scott Littleton and Linda Malcor entitled From Scythia to Camelot, a radical reassessment of the legends of King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, and the Holy Grail, caused a real sensation. King Arthur is not some separate, unique figure. He is one of those many figures. He led the struggle of the local Celts against the invaders from the continent, the Anglo-Saxons. Well, not only Anglo-Saxons, but also the Frisians, the Germanic tribes, and some others. The result, Britain was conquered by them. The local Celtic population withstood, and the Sarmatians were the leaders, with the most famous figure, King Arthur. Bearing in mind these hypotheses, we can explain why the first knights of Europe had heavy armor, long swords, and the tradition to use heavy cavalry. Even the knight tournaments, all this stuff is a legacy of the first cataphracts, which came to Britain from the distant steppe. Over time, the Sarmatians dissolved among the local population and soon were absorbed by the new masters of Europe. They did not lose their influence. So the Sarmatians were among those who created new medieval Europe. New royal surnames, new royal dynasties. They created aristocratic families. All of them were nomads. They are the Sarmatians, Goths, and Huns. They gave birth to all aristocratic clans of Europe. They also established the first medieval states. For example, let's consider Italy. The first king of Italy was Flavius Odoacer, who is also known as Flavius Odovacar. As one of the famous British historians, Thomason wrote, Odoacer is a famous brave ruler of the Hun origin. Is there any doubt now in the contribution of the Sarmatians to the world history? Their military tactics were used by the strategists until the 20th century. At different moments, different nations started using the armor to cover the body, but exactly the Sarmatians came up with the idea of uniting the armor into a single outfit, lining up the wedge. They even tied 4-meter pikes to the horses. When they attacked the enemy's formation, there could be 2 or 3 of the enemy warriors killed with one pike. And of course, this, let's say, Sarmatian military machine simply trampled the enemy's formation, created the gap through which the light cavalry immediately rushed in, and created chaos in the combat formation of the enemy. By the way, the same tactical maneuver was used by German troops during the Second World War. They created a tank fist, pushed in one place, rushed to the formation, surrounded and destroyed the enemy in parts. So we can firmly say that the German army, Hitler used Sarmatian tactics of cataphracts. The Sarmatians shone themselves at the cusp of the millenniums and became not only witnesses of the unfolding global processes, but took part in these processes. Moreover, they were the driving force behind the processes. Overcoming huge distances, they conquered whole nations and civilizations. No one could cope with these armored horsemen. Thanks to them, even today, it is possible to find a common gene among people who live not only in different countries, but on different continents.